Hi guys, Matt Lemke here with Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. We are at Gen Con, and I'm with Oz, the wizard.
Yeah, I'm not a wizard. Sorry. I'm other things, but not a wizard.
Privateer Press, and we're at their game area.
Yeah, we're in events, and there's a tournament starting this morning.
Couple of them?
Various things.
What's the big tournament this year?
Well, we've got a Masters, and we've got a caster draft right now, and we've got a Monsterpocalypse Crush Hour. We've also got a narrative event where Hungerford's running 16 players through a 8-on-8 team game of Infernals versus people fighting Infernals, and he's got a whole city and some trees and stuff over there, and crazy things happen in that because it's narrative.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Oblivion.
Yeah.
Monsterpoc. And then RideQuest.
Yeah, the new thing, RideQuest.
Yeah, the new thing.
Yeah.
That Will did.
The other Will.
So, what makes the Infernals so special?
So the Infernals are a thing that has been teased in the setting of the Iron Kingdoms, which is where War Machine takes place, basically the entire time. We've been talking about these basic demon things that exist outside of reality, making deals with people and trying to get in, and it's part of the story of how humans have magic and all that stuff. So it's been a part of the Iron Kingdoms forever, and it was one of those doomsday clock elements of the Iron Kingdoms. So it was always the Infernals are going to come and they're going to get their payment that they're owed for magic, and it's going to be bad. And so this is finally them showing up with and invading reality and trying to get all the souls they're owed for the payment the gods made to give humans magic.
So with souls being owed to them, do they have some kind of special soul mechanic?
Yes, they do. They're a crazy different faction. So we've added factions to the game for years. We've added Convergence and Retribution and all of Hordes, and then Grimkin got added, and Grimkin kind of threw some new mechanics in. But Infernals can summon models, which means they can get models during the game that didn't start at the beginning of the game. And part of how they do that is a soul economy and things. Yeah. So they're adding brand new mechanics to the game.
So they collect souls from what they terminate, right?
Yeah.
And then they can spend those to bring back models from their faction, or
to summon brand new monsters. Because their things in their battle groups, like Warjacks and Warbeasts, are called horrors, and they're giant monstery things that are infernal things.
How does that figure into building? I mean, point cost.
You don't pay the points for them. You build your normal army, right? 75-point army, and then you can summon it in other things. But to pay for that, instead of getting their focus or their fury, the tokens you spend on spells, they have to sacrifice a model in their army to get that back. And when they summon a thing, they have to sacrifice a more specific model in their army. So they have humans they're helping them, and they kill those humans to get magical energy and to summon their monsters. So you're bringing smaller things to then swap out for bigger things later, but your resources are dwindling as you're playing. And your opponent can try to snipe out the important pieces that you want to replace and to summon. So there's a whole different kind of game going on with Infernals.
Yeah, it's an interesting economy there. They can very easily be turned into a glass cannon. They could have a real strong early game followed by a weak middle game and a really massive end game.
The other thing about that is they can start with some of those on the table, but they also get new ones. And when that thing comes on the table, it starts with all of its essence points, which is what their version of focus is. And if it ever runs out of essence, it vanishes. It has to be, you have to keep it fed with energy to keep it in reality. So if you take a big turn with your great big giant horror and it buys a bunch of attacks or boosts a bunch, and it doesn't have any essence at the end of the round, it has to pay one essence to stay on the table. And if it doesn't have any essence, it just evaporates. So there's all kinds of new things
that really cool.
Infernals are bringing in to the mechanics of the game.
That is really cool.
Yeah. And the other half of Infernals is what else is in Oblivion. So Oblivion's a campaign book. It comes with one new model that any player can play. It comes with a campaign book in that box. It also comes with a card deck that's part of that campaign, and it comes with a brand new rule book that's an integrated War Machine and Hordes rulebook for the first time. So in the third edition, we put appendixes in for some of the Hordes rules in the War Machine book and vice versa. But for the Oblivion new rulebook release, everything's integrated. So right after the chapter that talks about Warcasters, there's a Warlock chapter. So War Machine and Hordes is together in one rulebook. And That's in Oblivion, but the bigger thing in Oblivion is all the forces of the churches and stuff that are fighting against the Infernals. Because you can imagine the Infernals like demons. So, like, people who fight demons, all the religious people, right, including angels that the gods have sent to the planet that are called Archons. So you might have seen some of them in the case in the booth. There's a big, giant, flaming-winged Midnight Archon.
Not yet.
And there's a thing called a Primal Archon that's like rocks and roots and mud in the shape of a big monster that's like the planet fighting back against the Infernals. So not only are we putting crazy demon monsters in the game that summon things, we're also putting people in the game that are the followers of the gods, and some of them, they're literal, like, supernatural servants showing up on the planet to fight against them.
So the new rules really haven't changed any. They're just together.
We've done a little bit of fine-tuning. We took out hills, for instance, because hills are a problematic piece of scenery. So hills are no longer in the game. We've done that kind of slight cleanup. So it's not a new addition. It's just a little bit of refinement.
Okay. So it's like a 3.2.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that brings us to Monsterpocalypse.
Yes, Monsterpocalypse is the game I'm in charge of specifically. So all of us lead our own different games, because Will Hungerford, who you've talked to before, he's in charge of RiotQuest now, and Jason Souls is still in charge of War Machine. So Monpoc is my game. And Monsterpocalypse just had a brand new faction released. So the Empire of the Apes came out in June and July. And in September and August, we're releasing UberCorp International, which is the robot versions of things. So a robot version of the big dinosaur guy, and a robot version of, an ape eventually, and a robot version of the ninjas. And those things are coming out. And so those are two brand new factions for this summer. But we're also about to roll into the fall and put out a third monster for all of the existing factions. So the apes that just came out are going to get a monster pretty soon, but also Guard, the very first faction that launched last summer at Gen Con, they're getting a third monster in a month or two. And they're also getting a new unit pack, so new tanks and like little gribbly monsters running around the board. We also just put out a neoprene mat for the first time.
Oh, nice.
And we're printing a second neoprene mat, which is a brand new design that no one's ever seen before. So that's going to come out soonish. So we're putting out more stuff like that. And then we're adding new factions and new game modes next year. We're working on new game modes for the game that I can't talk about much because we're still working on them. I don't want to make promises. But we did tease a whole bunch of stuff at Lock and Load. So we're coming out with the last two classic Monsterpocalypse factions, the giant bugs and the giant like magical elemental monks. Nice. Those guys are coming out in the spring, so we're going to put one monk, the flaming monk, out, and we're going to put the great big rhino beetle out. And then we're going to put out more stuff for the mole people and the fish. And then next year there's two brand new factions that have never been in Monsterpocalypse before that we're going to talk about more in the future.
Excellent.
But yeah, it's getting constant releases.
So it's doing good.
Yeah. It's a very popular game because of the genre, because there's not a lot of giant monster games, but also because it's very approachable. You can easily learn the rules for Monsterpocalypse in like about half a game.
Yeah, about that. I think that's what it took us last year.
Yeah.
And then RiotQuest.
Yes, RiotQuest is the brand new thing that's coming out in September that we're previewing at the show this week. So RiotQuest is, Oblivion is the Infernal showing up and trying to collect the souls they're owed, and they destabilize reality. And RiotQuest is a what-if setting, that what if everything they want happens and the world kind of goes bad. Like an Armageddon kind of happens in the world. So RiotQuest is still set in the Iron Kingdoms, the place that we've been making War Machine for the last 15 years or so. But it's what if everything went bad? And now it's just some people banding together to try and survive. And it's a very casual board game-like miniatures game. All the miniatures in there are hobby miniatures, so you still build and collect them. They're pewter and resin. But the gameplay is completely different. It's on a hex base. It uses Monsterpocalypse dice, so the simple just strikes or no strikes dice, but it doesn't use the Monsterpocalypse rules. It has its own rule set. And you can play 1, 2, 3, or 4 players, and all of the objectives are changing as you play because they're all cards. So if you score one of the cards, a new card comes out which might change the way that we're trying to score points all of a sudden. And one of the greatest things about the game is you can play any miniatures combination you want. So when you build your crew, you can take up to 10 miniatures, and it can be any of the 10 RiotQuest miniatures you want. So in the starter box, there's 5 miniatures. So that's enough for one player to get started. And then in the first couple of weeks/month, we're going to put out another chunk of models. So I think it'll be up to 11 in the first, like, probably 30 or 60 days. And then we're releasing more models. And every time a model comes out, if you want to play with it, you can throw it into your existing crew and mix things up any way you want. There's no points. It's just like Monsterpocalypse. You just take a number of models. So when you start playing, you're playing with 5 models, but eventually you can build up to 10, and then you can rearrange things any way you want. And when a new model comes out, like there's an alligator sea captain with a giant hook on a rope. He's called Captain Crawtooth. If you love Captain Crawtooth, then you can just swap him out for one of your existing models and not have to do anything different. The other cool thing about force construction in the game is there are gear cards, and gear cards upgrade your models. So as you play, like, you might put spring boots on your guy, or like better bullets in her ammo kind of situation. And every new model comes out with a gear card, but the gear cards aren't tied to those models. So you can take as many gear cards as you take heroes. So if you take 10 heroes, you can take 10 gear cards, and it can be a selection of any of the gear cards you own. So you might want to grab bullets to make one of your gunners better. You might want to grab the Shard of Rathrok, which is Madrak's axe has broken, and a piece of it will power you up and make you a stronger fighter. There's also, like I said, rocket boots. There's a glove that shoves people around. So there's all kinds of crazy gear in the game. And you build a hand of gear based on what you want to put on your models during the game. And you open treasure chests during the game that pop up randomly that give you loot coins that you can spend on those gear. So there's a lot of customization in your army, and then there's a lot of interesting play that shifts as objectives change and things during the game.
And what's the win condition?
The win condition is get to 7 points, and you get points by either completing objectives, which are called bounty cards, or by knocking out other heroes.
Okay, excellent. And, well, you already said that there's more stuff coming up.
Yeah.
I think that covers everything.
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Anytime.
Thank you. Like,
Goodbye.
subscribe, share. Later. Let's go.
Hi, guys. Meet the Nibbles, who's gonna go down. She just decided not to go down my back, so we'll do this for her so she's comfy. Thanks for watching my video, and I appreciate it. Please hit the like button and share it if you know somebody who might be interested. And of course, there's always Twitter and the Facebook thingy, and soon I have a newsletter coming. That'll be down there or in the link below, and my kitty cat loves that idea. So anyway, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, subscribe. Be a part of my community, our community. Let's make it grow together. See you guys at a con somewhere, or a local store, or if I'm driving through the country, maybe a game club. I don't know, you're not going to go knock down my camera. Bye, guys.